Does anyone have any questions before we get going on tonight's presentation? No. Mini weekend, we're done tonight though. 11 o'clock tonight to 8 o'clock tomorrow morning is the mini weekend. Of course. Yeah. I don't know. Depends what the best answer is. No.
Was it 25?
There are other questions.
Chapter 25?
Yeah.
Screenshot it and tell me the chapter so I can find it.
Yeah, I got dinged on that too. It was like, I know that yours gets the answer.
Direct pressure and then tourniquet.
Yes.
Huh?
One of them just said add more dots.
Yep. One of the questions is 48 male suspected open book pelvic fracture.
Yep.
And
Which is a compression device.
yeah.
So what that is, that's what that's called, is it's called a SAM splint. And what it does is it wraps the entire pelvis and it puts the pelvis back into compression, which is different than you palpating straight down with compression. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And also, or
Next.
So it's kind of like the thing that we use on the leg when there's a fracture.
No,
Well,
this is like a girdle.
but it does the same thing, right? Is that you're pulling so that it puts the squeezes?
Yeah, so this is more of a circumferential, goes around, then it tightens and it pulls. So an open book pelvic fracture, the pelvic plates come open. So as you slide underneath the back and then it comes around and it pulls it back up and it puts it back in place.
Okay.
would that be painful to put together?
It actually relieves pain because an open book pelvic fracture is extremely painful also. Because both your femurs are floating free. Yeah, it's really bad. Usually happens when you get ejected from a motor vehicle, or the patient breaks your pelvis open. Takes an enormous amount of force. Any other questions? All right, let's get started. So, we went over front end collisions pretty well. You have a very good idea of what front end collisions look like after Tuesday night. So now we're gonna go over rear end collisions. I know you already saw this one. Is this one Russia too?
No, this is Europe.
Oh,
Bang, bang. Which boxes?
that's a fatal rear end collision.
Which boxes everywhere?
Yeah, it wasn't good. So one of the biggest things you get is whiplash because it throws the head forward. So even if you're properly restrained, you got your pelvis to your shoulder restrained, your head's still gonna get forward and your neck's gonna extend. And you're gonna stretch the muscles, you're gonna get what's called a whiplash type injury. It's also not uncommon to get a deceleration injury, bruise to your brain if you're going fast enough. Lateral collisions, these are the most deadly ones. Because you're getting hit from the side. The great vessels don't do well sideways with massive kinetic energy to rupture your great vessels. So these have the highest fatality rate on mechanism injuries, a lateral impact. This one right here is a fatal.
And then out of nowhere.
Yeah, pretty much. Man, then here's a compilation of lateral impacts. So what happens when you let cats drive? A lot with the frontal impact, a lot of the pole impacts are lateral. Yeah, or the slide that goes sideways, the pole's the first thing that stops them. Not all of these are, but poles are your most common lateral impacts. streets. Or intersections. There we go, that's good. So, that's how you get a good lateral impact. Timber. That was a good spin. I should have more better, but that's the best I can do. All right, rollover crashes. Rollovers give unpredictable As long as they're restrained, rollovers aren't nearly as bad as they used to be, because the cars are designed better to disperse kinematic energy. If it's unrestrained in a rollover, basically the person becomes a lottery ball and they get 360-degree injuries. Not versus rollover into a crowd. That's why in America, we don't stand on the side of the road in races, we build grandstands.
Kind of makes sense.
That's the reason why.
Those people are flat.
So one of the other problems being understated rollover is if not just being a lottery ball, but if you get ejected, you usually go ejected at even a greater kinematic energy and speed than you were originally traveling the vehicle because it catapults you. Then you usually land and the vehicle's still going the same trajectory that lands on top of you. So we got lots of great examples here. Well, another one is this is one of the best ever though.
We go now to Fox 2, Sean Conroy, who's live in Skybox, and Sean.
This
we
guy's
understand
doing over 100 miles an hour. He
starting
clears
out
a
for
4-lane
shooting. Can you
highway.
tell us?
Yeah, she can fund that,
In the air.
as you can tell, he's headed now, definitely tell he's headed eastbound on 40 at a very fast clip that white Suburbans were following. Several police officers in chase, basically coming near Frontenac where this all began, near Lindbergh on eastbound 40.
He's not wearing a
About 100
seatbelt.
miles an hour right now, this white Suburban is flying on eastbound 40. This all apparently happened on Bob Road, Frontenac, with the shooting. This
Watch
chase
this.
out west over off the road.
Clears a 4-lane road. Rolls, ejected.
You can see his
Yeah,
mom
the Suburban lands on his head.
from the car. Horrible crash. That is about,
Notice he didn't get up.
yeah, Air Clayton Road.
Now, all the
Sean,
good Samaritans stop to help, they run over there to help, they gotta go,
As far
oh.
as the police officers, how many are on the highway, how many are chasing this
Look at the
vehicle?
road, he clears those cars that 4-lane road.
That's crazy.
Probably 4 or 5 right now, but maybe more. Obviously, we're involved in this past throughout West County. This was headed all the way up to page 270, coming back east, as you see here, and ending just east.
Gotta go, oh, yeah, all right.
Why this individual spraying in the first place?
I'm sorry, Alan, what did you?
Any idea why this person was skating in the first place, was fleeing in the first place?
We understand a shooting in Frontenac, legal on Bob Road, from what we understand now. You can see the first police officers arriving. I need to correct something. They were not that close to this suspect. They had backed off, but he was still charging at quite a clip, as we said. We estimated about 100 miles an hour at one point. But the police officers have arrived. That person, as you saw, is ejected, is laying down
Cups the body.
And Sean, these kinds of situations are always sending.
This is another good one. Now this is when the K-rail stops the car, when he goes into oncoming traffic. And for those who didn't see it, we slowed it down and put it in slow motion for you.
Holy shit.
What's that? Oh, that car hit him.
Yeah,
Oh, I didn't even see it at first.
yeah, he was the original Circus Allegra.
Yeah.
There he is. Oh, there's another one. Guess what? They're hurt. Bluer car park. Yeah, he hadn't tried that helmet out before.
Volví a nacer. Parece que tengo una fractura en el brazo derecho, todas mis partes están bien, por favor de Dios.
There, she just explained it to you.
You don't have a fracture in the right arm and everything else looks good.
No, wait. We've got one close, hold on a second. You can tell us what she said. Sorry, I didn't think about it. You can translate it for us.
Volví a nacer. Parece que tengo una fractura en el brazo derecho, pero todo fuera de peligro. Mi cabeza está bien,
So,
mi cráneo está bien, mi
I
alma
was
está
born
bien,
again, I have a fracture in the
todas
right
mis
arm,
partes están
everything
bien,
else
por
is
favor
good,
de Dios.
my head is good, and yeah, everything else is
Y bueno,
okay, she's good, thank you.
de ese momento desagradable.
I bet.
Me maté y se voy a seguir
Once I
corriendo.
thought I died,
Vamos a
I'm gonna
ver.
keep racing, something about the last award or
Wow. This one's not gonna keep racing. Hey, your neck's not supposed to go that direction. Gotta wear your seatbelt. You guys okay? You feel? Found that lady's death hilarious. That'd be pretty ugly to watch. That's. I don't know, but I don't think that would survive either. All right, spins. We got to see a couple of those on the vehicle versus pole. This is a good spin.
From multiple ambulances goes out.
Go to prison for crashing into a Jeep. All right, vehicle versus pedestrians. So some things you gotta know or want to know in your assessment is, was the patient thrown were they hit and then thrown? Were they hit, went up to the windshield and then off? Or were they hit and went under, or hit, knocked into oncoming traffic and hit again? Those are your most common vehicle versus pedestrian type of injuries. These also have a very high spinal cord injury. This one's a little bit backwards. I screwed up the editing on this.
If you want something to happen to you,
Not a well coordinated stunt scene. This was a guy running on a racetrack.
Oh.
I don't know why you choose one. Yeah, got a little messed up here, sorry.
中国北京市内の高速道路を横断しようとした男性が車にはねられた。
See his shoe?
No, I didn't see the shoe.
Yeah. Wait, you gotta watch the shoe.
男性が車に
Watch the shoe. Shoe goes all the way up over
Into the other
the walkway that he should have been using.
Are those all the shoes they find on the side of the road?
Yeah. So I talk a lot in this class about you can talk or you can act. This cop decided to act before he got killed. 'Cause he knows what happens if you lie in traffic. So just lay there and sit down that hurt, or you can get up and run for your life. Otherwise, you're gonna die.
Yeah, he's got hit by a car and stood up.
Have you ever heard the term the bottom of the gene pool?
Yes.
This is it. This guy is not a genius. Runs himself over. Look at how hot that exhaust fan pump is. It's not that.
Yeah.
Real bad. So you're gonna work for a fire department, ambulance, or law enforcement, you're gonna get taught emergency vehicle operations course. This guy, this cop, I can tell you right now, was #1 in his class. Apprehended.
Got him. Apprehended. Frozen custody.
Drop the knife. I dropped the knife. Get the guy in the car away from me.
What happened to a woman, did she die? Do you know?
I don't know. Morning, this is graphic. Oh, this is real graphic. He didn't live.
That looks like art person.
It is part of it.
Yeah, there's the other part.
Those who didn't bleed, Jesus killed him instantly.
Yeah.
All right, well, that's enough of that.
Oh.
Okay, so falls. Things you want to know. What body part landed first? What type of surface did it land on? And what was the height of the free fall? Anything that's 3 times the person's height or now 20 feet. I know it says 15 there. They've actually elevated it 20 feet. Physics has changed. Actually, the data has changed based on the data. Anything over 20 feet, it's considered potentially life threatening. So have you ever seen in places where they have the barriers for the trapdoors? This is the reason why you're supposed to have barriers. Bye-bye. Hey, King, look. It's training. It's what made you late.
Wow.
當時已經係球賽嘅尾段，有球迷用腳踢人落看台。
Soccer fans, man, they take it seriously.
Yeah, jump from the ladders.
This is the next, it's the bottom of the gene pool.
Belly flop, belly flop, belly flop, belly flop, belly flop. I'm talking down. No. Oh my God.
Yeah, go on.
Holy. Oh. Oh. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Dang, that was a stupid idea.
No way.
He like landed everywhere.
You all right, man? Brett, look at me.
Trying to poke your nose again, that's great.
Good done. Do you land on your face? That was awesome though. Take the picture.
I'm recording it.
This is what happens when you overdo your tip load against the manufacturer's recommendations. Yeah, that was bad.
Ocurrió en la frontera entre España y Francia. Dos bomberos rodaron 70 metros al soltarse de un cable de un helicóptero cuando simulaban un rescate en una montaña. Sus cuerpos, como estamos viendo, golpearon en contra de las rocas y ambos sufrieron múltiples fracturas. Uno de ellos incluso sufrió contusiones en el cerebro, pero sorprendentemente, los dos.
What do you say?
In the border between Spain and France, those guys were doing some exercises, and the cable from the helicopter got cut, and they fell 70 meters.
Oh,
And then,
10 feet.
Head injuries, but both of them were okay. That was what you stopped.
That's
I think
amazing.
eventually they recovered, yeah.
Wow.
Sobrevivieron.
They survived.
This is the best guy in the incident. Floor collapsed, second story floor, dance floor. Oh. This is why I don't go to theme parks for world pictures. All right, this is decapitation. So if you don't want to watch it, close your eyes. What could go wrong on a swing ride? That. As you guys missed it, we slowed it down and circled the person that loses their head. Any questions on falls? Yes.
You see that videos like send people for the fair, so they're like, I don't wanna go on this ride, give no reason. I got more proof.
Yeah, it's on YouTube. All these classes are.
Okay.
All right, so you want to know the height of the fall? What type of surface did they hit? What part of the body hit first? Now, if it's a ground level fall, the first thing you want to know is how did they fall? Why? Was it that they got dizzy and passed out, which could be a major underlying medical problem? Or did they trip over the cat or the rug or something else?
Ice, which is a safety issue.
What's that?
Ice, which is safety.
Yes. Any questions? Hey, we already saw this.
當時已經係球賽嘅尾段，有球迷用腳踢人落看台。當時已經係球賽嘅尾。
Not sure. These guys are great. someday, I wanna have a beer with the guy who was recording this on his GoPro.
Said they survived,
Huh?
said they survived.
Who?
I missed what you said at first.
I said, someday, I wanna have a beer with the guy who recorded this on his GoPro. Cause this is one of the best videos ever. And it's because of his narration of it.
Sorry, I know where I was. Oh, you not gonna try it?
Look at the penalty for failure, dude. Ah, shit, that's a hell of a fucking game.
Be careful, that's a hell of, oh, shit.
Oh my.
Oh, you all right? Did you feel it?
Yeah.
Don, hey.
Hey, just sit down, sit down, sit down, sit down.
Miles, until you know everything's connected.
Sit down.
Just the.
That's a hell of a fucking game. I'm on the road. Be careful, that's a hell of, oh, shit.
Oh my.
Oh, hell. Oh, shit. Oh, you all right? Did you feel it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don, hey.
Hey, just sit down, sit down, sit down, sit down.
Miles, until you know everything's connected.
Sit down.
Just the best ever. All right, so penetrating trauma is the #2 leading cause of traumatic death. #1 is blunt. Guess what #3 is? Yeah, there is nothing but blunt and penetrating. Come on, folks. So I don't know. This may or may not work. I actually copied this. I watched this happen live. It was absolutely shocking. But this is multiple gunshots at the same time. It was actually live on YouTube during a protest. I was in a motel in Bedford. I was like, what? What? Huh?
It's not problem season.
Video proof of chasing a person that's trying to get away from you with a gun is probably not the smartest idea.
Oh.
Yeah, they got cops, guards, and medics.
Well, I would love to be started too.
What's funny is the guy that was screaming for a medic had a hat on that said paramedic.
Well,
And
also,
well, he was a paramedic, but it had his paramedic license removed for felony possession of a firearm and alcohol and addiction to alcohol. So he hadn't been a paramedic for many years, but showed up and fraudulently passed himself off as a paramedic. And then got shot and then immediately started screaming for a medic.
So is he like a good guy on the bikini or bad guy?
It's all depends on what take you have on the whole thing. I'm not gonna tell
Well,
that
like,
for you.
was he trying to shoot
Let's not go down
somebody,
that route.
or was he?
No, he was trying to shoot somebody else. He pointed a gun at someone and the person that he pointed the gun at shot him.
Oh, think before you actually.
Same thing with this one. This one, so this one right here, now this is a really, really good training video. So this training video is about distracting injuries. We talk a lot about distracting injuries in this class. So this guy has a head wound, but he has got a large bullet hole in his pelvis, which are usually fatal if you shoot someone in the pelvis. And he literally bleeds out while they're trying to dress his head. Now, that said again, the 3 people that were there that had the identification as medics, none of them were trained or certified as medics. They just showed up as a protest and identified as medics because they always wanted to be medics without going to EMT's class. Yes.
Now, because you wouldn't want to put direct pressure on what might be a shattered pelvis, what would you do?
Drag him to a vehicle and get him to a trauma center for surgery as soon as possible.
Okay.
Trying to dress the cut on his head
Well,
is
no,
not gonna help.
I'm referring to,
Yeah, and what you would really do if you were a trained EMT.
yeah.
Yeah, you would immediately drag him onto a device to get him into a vehicle to get him moving to a surgeon as soon as possible.
But you would try to stop bleeding.
If you could, if there was external bleeding, yes. Yes, question in the back. It was the George Floyd protest. Actually, no, it was not. I am sorry. This was a protest on separate. This was in Kenosha, which was a separate protest from the George Floyd protests. So. So there's the shooting. The person video, same thing, this was live video. I was like, I better record this for ET class. Rest his head. You're okay. You're okay.
Definitely not.
Never say you're okay.
Yeah.
Never ever say you're okay. All right, so that's high energy penetrating trauma. Then you have low energy penetrating trauma, which is usually from knives or things that you fall on, industrial accidents. High energy is usually caused by bullets or shrapnel. But also remember, if there's an explosion, pressure waves can cause cavitation, which is when things explode inside your body just from the pressure. If possible, if you know it's a shooting, try to find the distance, the caliber of the gun, and the type of gun if possible. It will help the surgeon know what to look for. So that right there is an exit wound to the defensive wound. So that is, it's kind of the back of the hand. That's someone trying to stop someone from shooting them. Bullet fires in from the defensive wound. We're trying to stop. Bullet fires in, exits out the back. The entrance wound is always going to be a small wound. The exit wound is always going to be a large wound. Yeah. Looks like a small caliber. Although that's a big wound, it's probably a very small caliber. This one's another tragic one. This is another scene safety one. It shows that how quickly a scene can become unsecure and stay unsecure, even if law enforcement's there. people just that have guns hidden on them, then pull guns out, and then other people that go and enter the scene even after someone's been shot, and you don't know if they have a gun or don't have a gun. But it shows how quickly scenes become chaotic and tragic at the same time. I can tell you this, body cams is gonna get us endless training videos. Since they started wearing body cams on police officers, endless training videos. So I'll give you an example. That one we watched at the start of this class where the EMT and the paramedic murdered that guy. No one would have believed that if it wasn't for the body cam. How bad it was. Like they'd have believed it was bad. No one would have believed the level of how bad that was if it hadn't been for the body cam.
Like when they shoved him on that stretcher.
It was slammed him face down on the
Yeah.
stretcher and then left him like that, never checked his vital signs. I mean, come on. And told him that she's not gonna deal with it today. What?
Are you next? Did you box phone? Did anybody box? Okay, go back down the weapons, okay? You got anything on folks, they come and hurt me? Okay, relax, homie, relax. Relax. Why are you shaking for it? Relax. Oh, okay, shot fire, shot fire. Get back! Get back! Get back! Get back! Get back, sir! Sir, get back! Get back! I'm not! Get back!
That's a gun.
Get back, sir! 502, step it up! Get back! Get back, sir! Sir, get back! He has a gun! Get back and I'll
There's
win!
traffic driving through the scene. And you don't know if they've got a gun.
Get back!
So the preacher doesn't understand that the guy that's shot has a gun in his hand. More cars driving through the scene.
Get back! I was be sorry, you man. Don't think we shot. He's got a gun.
This guy's got no BSI on. So sort of throws the gun.
So he threw the gun with his hands on the.
What's that?
He didn't have any gloves and he just grabbed that gun and threw it.
Yep. Well, I guess it's the level of scene safety. Get the gun isolated first.
It's good to remove it from him, but it's not like they're destroying the evidence. Yeah, I guess that's fair.
So they got to put gloves on now.
Yeah.
That's a lot of blood.
Get them back!
All right, so question, you're seeing size up. Is this patient alive or dead?
Dead.
If he's dead, why is he still bleeding?
I would say he needs to have his pulse checked.
Exactly, well, but the whole thing is if you're bleeding, your heart is still pumping. He's alive. I don't believe he survived, but he is alive at this point. Not that I know of. This was pretty cut and dry with the body kit. Pulls a gun, then he dropped the gun, then he picked the gun up, pointed it again when he started shooting and tried to run away.
He dropped it, we ran for him, he dropped it, picked that, boy, good like this, he had it taken. That was a bad spot, so.
All right, so Newton's first law. Objects don't move unless you move them. Second law. That won't be on the test. Third law, for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. Basic physics. All right, head injuries. So this is a great thing, and anyone that takes film class in college, sound effects are everything.
Oh, speaking of head, I think it was Tuesday night, one of our employees, he left work, decided to have a couple beers next to the river. And he slipped and smacked his face into a rock.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty fun. Oh, it was pretty tragic, but I think he got like 17 staples in his head.
Oh my goodness.
Hopefully he's back to work on Monday.
Wow. Hopefully he's young and he didn't develop a brain bleed.
He's like 40. And he
Ooh.
constantly smokes. He's like a chain smoker. Everywhere
Oh,
I
that's
go, I
not
find
fair.
cigarettes.
What's sound effects? Sound effects totally makes that video.
Increases testosterone.
Is that what the company's done?
It's actually a big nicotine total.
All right, so open wounds to the neck. Any penetrating trauma below the jaw and above the belly button, you need to put an occlusive dressing on. Occlusive is the airtight seal. Penetrating injuries to the neck, if it's open the jugular vein and air gets in there, it'll cause an air embolus, which is kind of like a vapor lock, and it will stop the circulatory system from operating. Any questions? No. Injuries to the chest. We're going to go over to each one of these systems individually. But broken ribs can cause punctured lungs, which can cause collapsed lungs, which can be fatal. That's what a collapsed lung is called, a pneumothorax. We'll go over that detail in chest trauma. Abdominal injuries, you got solid organs and hollow organs. Solid organs bleed when they're ruptured. Hollow organs don't bleed as much, but they're loaded with bacteria and digestive enzymes that will cause sepsis when they rupture and go leak out into the insides of your abdomen. Then you got multi-systems trauma. Now there will be test questions. That multi-systems trauma means multiple parts of the body are broken. Don't try any of this at home. Yeah, see? I know what I'm talking about. Probably not the best decision this guy's ever made. He's big and rid out his face. They didn't have a second date. All right, so the end of this video is critically important for you guys. What the surgeon has to say in the end. So what you're going to see in this video is you're going to see paramedics and nurses doing a lot of procedures before they get to the hospital. But the bottom line is the only thing that saves lives in trauma is getting them into surgery in time to prevent irreversible shock. Is that clear? Yeah. And what the surgeon says at the end of this video is probably the best thing that you guys need to understand. This was a salvable injury, a salvable patient that was not saved because of EMS.
the surveillance becomes a priority. The classification of life or death for the SWAT team's been trying to convince an armed woman to surrender. Even on this high domestic disputes, we sent her to her home. She's shot 3 times. Yeah.
First thing, if you're using a helicopter to move a trauma patient, when that helicopter lands, you load the patient into the helicopter, strap them down and have the helicopter lift off. You do not do this. You don't have the flight crew walk over to the ambulance, get in with you, talk about it, maybe do some procedures while the patient's bleeding to death. It's not what you do.
Did she live?
No. Take your helmet off. Let's go back to the ambulance for a while. We give it back to the
She's on the line between life and death.
But she doesn't give her movie to
Her pulse returns, and she might have a chance. Charles Smith, a ground paramedic, joins the medevac crew for the flight to Charlotte. It's going to take 2 people to keep her alive. The second her heart stops, they must start chest compressions. If this woman has any chance at all, she's going to the right place. Baltimore's Mar Adams County Shock Trauma Center, where the golden hour of emergency medicine began, and she's there in less than 20 minutes.
after the helicopter goes down. Way outside the whole tower. Don't count the time when the helicopter goes off.
We know that she has essentially no blood pressure. That means that she's bleeding. The only opportunity we have to save her is to stop her blood loss immediately. We'll take her directly to the operating room and take our best shot. They start to lose her in the elevator. Cheeseman injects epinephrine into the tube in her neck, the fastest way to accelerate her heart rate. What we have time to do is take her to save her life. That's what we do. But sometimes you just go look, and that's the study of it. You open your look and you start taking care of injuries in order of the likelihood and rapidity. So at the beginning, the issues are at least stop the bleeding, at least temporarily, and find a hole in the case. In the hospital, incision on her chest and her abdomen went down 3 minutes.
3 minutes. They got her on the
Than just the left liver. So it now becomes trying to address the city of things that are killed. Stand the luxury of it takes too much time to
distracts me. I'm very calm, I'm very focused. I've done this a lot of times, and it's about identifying levels. There are a number of maneuvers that all of us use to get at the areas to expose the blood vessels. It's just a matter of moving with the greatest speed to places you have to look. Some things that are easy to see and open, they're right in front of you, like the level of the liver. And there's some things which are very difficult to see because you gotta move stuff out of the way in order to get to them. And so also I expect lever under themselves into her chest cavity, soak up blood with pressure on the bleeding sites. The towels hold the intestines aside to reveal the wounds. Some point are substitutes. Now we have several choices, we just quit. Well, we know that in a very small number of people, we can and in fact, still save their life. That is the process of uncoupling life. It takes place in each organ, and the organs are all connected. Think of it really as a chain reaction. When the heart fails, the kidneys don't get enough blood, they begin to fail, the liver begins to fail, the lungs begin to fail. And all those put undue stress on the heart, and the heart begins to fail worse. And so it cycles in a direction that ultimately ends up with people. Fixed and they can control all of their blood loss. At some point, you look and you say, this just isn't going to happen today. Because when you realize it's just not going to happen today, then you stop. And this, I think, is about as discouraging as it gets. We fixed our injuries, but we didn't get here quickly enough for us to be able to save our life. Terrible, terrible injuries, but we had her, we could have just gotten our heart to jumpstart, but we know what the survival is of people that have cardiac arrest. And it's a very, very nearly low number.
Could have gotten there in time, we could have saved it, but no, they decided to sit in the back of the ambulance and do procedures and push some meds. And that's not what saves lives. All right, any questions? All right, blast injuries. This is a big blast. Nitrate.
That was from improperly storing.
Ammonium nitrate.
Yeah.
That wasn't even intentional.
Yeah.
It was about the size of, so in Texas City, Texas, they didn't have cameras back, well, they had cameras, but no one was rolling video.
Right.
But Texas City, Texas was case, same thing with ammonium nitrate that got wet, became unstable on a ship in the harbor. And when it detonated at level 50 blocks of Texas City, Texas.
While it was in the harbor?
While it was from the harbor, the explosion was in the harbor, and it
Like
leveled
that
50 square blocks in town. Killed the entire fire department except for one guy survived. Because he was homesick that day.
Oh, I was gonna say. Sickness at work.
All right.
You get work days off?
Huh?
You get work days off?
Do I get work days off?
Did he?
Oh, I don't know.
I mean, there's no more work.
I think you became the chief.
Yeah.
You became the acting chief that morning.
You-
Can I go back? So the primary injury is from the cavitation, the blast. Secondary injuries is when the shrapnel hits you. All right, let's talk about how the trauma system works, so you have a clear understanding. So the video you guys just watched of the shooting, that was a level 1 trauma center, where they have a surgeon and a surgery team in the emergency room 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, always. But the same thing, they have to have lead time. They're actually working on lots of patients. So they need the earliest amount of time to know they have a trauma patient come to this, so they can put everybody else aside and then dedicate and focus the entire team on that one patient. That was pretty impressive. The time they got her out of the helicopter into surgery in 3 minutes. Can't do much better than that. Yes. Level 3. We're gonna go over what the different levels here in just a second. So we went over this a little bit at the beginning of class. We'll review. So the trauma system in the United States started in the military, started in World War II, where people were getting shot and blown up, and they found out that if they could get them into surgery within 1 hour of them being shot or blown up, they had a 96.4% survival rate, I'm pretty sure, something pretty close to that. And then they improved it in Korea with the mobile army surgical hospitals. Have you ever seen the TV show MASH? The comedy, that's what that's about. That's the original trauma system. And then in Vietnam, they got really, really good at it in Vietnam. But then what they found out is people were coming home from Vietnam and surviving, getting shot up with an AK-47 in Vietnam, then getting killed in a car accident at home because there's no trauma system at home. So like, why aren't we doing this in the United States? So that's how the trauma system got formed. So it all comes back to compensated shock. If you can survive the first 5 minutes, you generally will live for about an hour. As long as someone can get you into surgery, they're not dressing your head wound. Any questions? So that's where the golden hour comes from. It's not exactly an hour. It's like, oh, your hour's up. It depends on the conditioning, the health, the age. Its average is about an hour for a healthy adult. Any questions? So after that hour, things start to, your body runs out of adrenaline. So it can't do the vasoconstriction, you can't shunt the blood anymore. And then things start rapidly deteriorating very quickly once they start decompensating, which quickly leads to death or irreversible shock. So that hour is critically important. Any questions? You cannot sit in the back of the ambulance with the flight crew and do cool things. It will kill your patient. All right, so the parameters of the golden hour, kind of like the narrator of that video didn't understand. It begins not when you get dispatched, not when you get there. It begins when the injury happens. And it ends. It doesn't end when the helicopter lands or the ambulance gets to the hospital. It doesn't end when the trauma team gets the patient. It ends when they start surgery. Any questions? It's a very narrow window of time. All right, so there's 4 levels of trauma centers in the United States. They're all certified by the American College of Surgeons. They all have to meet criteria to be trauma centers. Now, the VA Trauma Center is not a profitable endeavor. There are no trauma centers that make money. Traumas are a losing business. There's a couple of reasons why. One, you got to pay a whole bunch of people a lot of money to be there. Trauma team is about 20 specialized people all working on the same patient at the same time. Okay. 2, the majority of the people that put themselves in the need of a trauma center do not have insurance and do not make a lot of money. are generally not in that position. Because trauma is a very socioeconomic problem. The other people that are getting shot and stabbed and run over by vehicles are in that position because of their socioeconomic status. So there's not a lot of profit. Matter of fact, a level 1 trauma center, every one of them in the United States are at university hospitals. Trauma teams in those hospitals are not getting paid much at all. They are students, they're medical students. Usually one old surgeon, kind of like me, making sure the kids are doing it right. That's what it is. Question? Okay, so a level 1 trauma center is the highest phase. So that is a surgeon and a surgery team. The surgery team is a surgeon, an anesthesiologist, scrub techs, surgical nurses, respiratory therapists, imaging, radiology. It's the whole works. It's like, again, it's like 20 people. It's every part of the hospital, pharmacy. Guy, it's a whole ton of people. So they've got to be available in the emergency room every minute of every day, 365 days a year. All right. Any questions on what a level 1 trauma center is?
What are you mostly seeing?
Huh?
What are you mostly seeing?
They're all university hospitals. Got to be at a medical school. The closest one to here is UC Davis in Sacramento, which is not in Davis. That's a big thing. The medical school is actually in Davis, California. UC Davis is in downtown Sacramento on Stockton Boulevard. Because you can't put a trauma center in the town of Davis. That's not where the traumas are. Again, it's socioeconomic. You have to put it in Stockton Boulevard where the worst things happen, where people are getting stabbed and shot every day. Does that make sense? Just like UCSF in San Francisco. The university is up in Twin Peaks, which is a really nice section of town. And the big hospital, University of San Francisco Medical Center, Parnassus, is up in Twin Peaks also, which is a giant, massive hospital. But the level 1 trauma center, which is Mission Emergency, San Francisco General, is down in the Mission District. Because that's where the shit happens. So that's what you have to do. But again, though, the majority of the people working those trauma teams are medical students. Because there's no way possible to even come close to paying for it. So the next step down from level 1 is a level 2. So level 2 trauma centers generally have the same capabilities as a level 1, but they don't have the team in-house 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. But they can put the team together in 20 minutes. So either they have everyone living close by, or they're paying them called stipends. Be living close by when they're on duty and they're on call. So they go and they do their daily surgeries, then they're done. They go home or go to their apartment they're getting them a stipend for, and then if something happens, they go back in. Make sense? Yes.
So is the 20 minutes, is that like maximum?
Yes.
Or, okay.
The time of activation, when they activate their trauma system, they have 20 minutes. They have every person on that team in the emergency room ready to go. There is a level 2 in Reading. Mercy Reading is a level 2. In the far north, in the region 3 district of Northern California, there's only 2 level 2 trauma centers. And that's Mercy Reading and Enloe Medical Center in Chico. Then there is no other levels than the next closest level of trauma centers are all in Sacramento. There's 2 level 2s in Sacramento and 1 level 1. Then the Bay Area's got a whole bunch. Any questions?
How many, like, was there a specific number of surgeons they have? Or
There's gotta be 1 surgeon.
Trauma.
1 trauma team. Even like level 1s can only handle like 2 critical patients at one time. Generally, that, and we're gonna go over that in MCIs on why that is and what you do. They can only do so many critical surgeries at one time. I actually got to witness once 2 vascular surgeons do 4 critical surgeries in an ER at the same time. 4 people bleeding to death in a blizzard, in a snowstorm, and the 2 of them working together on 4 patients, and actually all 4 of them survived somehow. Yeah. It was very badass. Yeah, it was in Mount Shasta. Those surgeons are all retired. Any questions on what the difference between a level 1 and a level 2 is? Okay, the other thing they do too is the American College of Surgeons will only certify level 1s, level 2s, and level 3s in certain areas. Because they don't want competing hospitals, like you don't want 2 hospitals in the same city to be the trauma center, because just like this class, the more you do something with repetition, the better you're gonna be. So they don't want half them going one place, half them going the other place. They want one place that does all the traumas and they are the best at. Does that make sense? So only one place gets to the trauma center in the city. Okay, now Sacramento, you get cities that are really, really big, like Los Angeles. Los Angeles has 3 level 1s in the greater Los Angeles area, but you're also talking 15 million people in that area. So, or I don't know how many they got. How many go to LA get?
LA should be a different state.
So.
We went down and we saw like 5 different flipped over cars and our taxi people flying through there, but nothing happened.
So anyway, well, like in Sacramento, there's 1 level 1 and 2 level 2s, but they're all spread out. Like one's in Roseville, one's in Carmichael, and then the level 1's downtown. Yes.
Who makes the call to send a trauma patient to level 2 or level 1 or level 2? Like say-
Protocol, you're gonna go to the closest trauma center. It doesn't matter if it's a level 1 through 4. You go to the closest available surgeon. All that matters is getting them into surgery as soon as possible. So you don't go farther away to go to a higher level because they'll bleed to death going there.
Right.
LA County has 10 million.
10 million people. So they've got, I believe, 3 level 1s in there. If that makes sense. That's a level 1 for every 3 million people. There's not 3 million people in Northern California. All right, so level 3. A level 3 is the same as a level 2, except they may not have all phases of definitive care. Remember what definitive care means, it's vocabulary. It means getting the person back to what they were before the incident. So level 3 may not have a cardiac surgeon or a neurosurgeon, but they will have a trauma surgeon that can stop you from bleeding to death. Makes sense?
Is that when there's sedate other people then?
What's that?
Would that be when they're sedate other?
Right, so what they do is they'll stop you from bleeding to death, stabilize you. Then if you need a neurosurgeon or a cardiac surgeon or a vascular surgeon to rebuild your artery, then they transfer you down to them. So the farther out you go, so you usually have a level 1, then level 2s, and then level 3s, and level 4s the farther out you go. Any questions? Yes.
So the trauma surgeon is their own specialty?
Yes, trauma surgeon is an actual certified surgery.
And so they would stay in that sphere for their career probably?
But usually it's a general surgeon, a lot of, not all general surgeons. Many general surgeons will go get an additional trauma surgeon certification. It used to be that most of your trauma surgeons were also vascular surgeons. However, as with everything, the more laws and the more regulation you get, the harder it is to get things done. So now a lot of people coming out of medical school are not going to spend the extra money and the extra time to get the vascular surgeon because they've upped the bar so much, which is great that you up the bar, but then fewer people are doing it. It's like right now, like in Reading, there's only 1 vascular surgeon level 2, and he's not on 24/7. It's like I got a friend of mine, she had a blood clot in her leg. They shipped her to Reading. Well, the vascular surgeon, she now has half a leg. So, yeah. Go ahead. Oh, you got a question? Yeah, 25 years ago, there was 4 vascular surgeons in Shasta, and 2 in Wairika, 6 in this county. There are no longer any in this.
I did have a question, but I forgot.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're okay.
So, any questions on the difference between a level 2 and a level 3? All right, then the last level is a level 4. So level 4 is one of 2 things, same as a level 3, except either they can't get a trauma team together in 20 minutes, or they don't have it available 7 days a week. Fairchild's level 4. The surgeons all live in Wairika, but the rest of the team, the nurse anesthetists, the pharmacists, the surgical nurses usually live in Mount Shasta or Ashland. So it's gonna take them a little bit longer to get there. However, by the time you try to get to Mount Shasta or Reading or Medford, you'll still bleed to death. It's still faster to go to Fairchild or level 4. Makes sense? They just can't assemble it in 20 minutes. In the daytime, they can. Nighttime, generally not. Any questions? All right, so that's the trauma system. So the trauma team assembly. So when you activate the trauma system, it's a big freaking deal. What happens is they put everybody on hold that's already in that hospital. And this doesn't matter if it's a level 4 trauma center or a level 1 trauma center. They will literally pull people out of the CAT scan. They will stop the x-rays. They stop everything, put everyone in the ER and wait for that trauma patient to get there. Because they need everybody working at the same time to stop that bleeding and save that person's life. You can't wait for someone else to come to CAT scan or x-ray. You can't wait for the anesthesiologist to get done with something else. Does that make sense? Surgeons are doing surgery. They stop doing surgery and they go down to the ER. The patient stays there waiting. Because they're usually stable. Of course, you're not going to stop an unstable surgery. Any questions? What? E-ray? X-ray. Yeah, well, it's because it's emitted rays. Or actually.
So question on that.
Yeah.
Since that works control, we're supposed to identify a trauma. I'm making that call. A wilderness first responder. Is the hospital actually paying attention to somebody like that?
Maybe.
Yeah.
I will be honest with you. A lot of the hospitals, because EMS's quality has been so low for so long nationwide, when someone calls a trauma alert, they generally take it with a grain of salt. They might notify people that will come in, they would usually wait, unless it's somebody like a paramedic they absolutely know and trust. Usually from the fire departments or other things, they will not activate it because people go, it looks real bad, it's a trauma alert. They don't use the actual physical criteria of what a trauma alert is. For example, there's different categories, different colors. In the last 10 years, every time someone has told me from a first responder that I have a category red that I'm responding to, I have only had one time in 10 years that actually be a category red. Now, I've had lots of category reds, but they haven't told me that before I got there. But every time that they've told me that, it has turned out it's not. It looks really bad, but it doesn't actually meet the criteria. And unfortunately, due to a seriously lack of training that we're trying to stop with this class, unfortunately, yes, people have a tendency to call things that don't actually meet the criteria. And when you're dropping 20, 30 grand to stop, call everybody in for something that doesn't meet the criteria. Yes.
What is the criteria?
We're about to go over that.
Oh, yes. All right.
Perfect. Funny you asked. And actually, this criteria I'm going to give you is still the nationwide criteria, but it's about to change. It's already changed here locally. Any questions about trauma center notification? However, you have to get them notified as early as possible, or else it doesn't work. You can't just show up and go, hey, I got you a trauma patient, because they're not going to be ready. Even in a level 1, they're not going to be ready. All right, first thing you got to know is the Glasgow Coma scale. You have to know it. You cannot guess the Glasgow Coma scale, which is part of the problem. Stuff. People go, oh, it's Glasgow's 10. No, they're Glasgow's 14. They can't guess at the Glasgow. You have to know it. If you guess at things and you get found out that you don't have the integrity to give an accurate report, no one's ever going to trust you again. Or your agency. Yes.
So how could you discern the difference between a confused and inappropriate verbal?
I have an excellent answer. So confused is if they are not oriented person, place, time, and event, they're considered confused. If you ask them what day it is, they said the cat is eating its dinner. That's inappropriate. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. So I would have categorized that as incomprehensible. Would that just be
Incomprehensible is
like,
that's incomprehensible.
I see.
And you will hear that.
How's that go again?
There's actually an address on College Avenue. You probably respond to a lot when you hear incomprehensible.
Basically illogical, inappropriate is illogical.
Exactly. They're having a different conversation than you're having.
Yes. I've had a couple.
What would be inappropriate?
Like when you ask them what day it is, or if they know where they're at, and they say the cat's eating breakfast,
That's inappropriate.
that's inappropriate. In other words, they're having a completely different conversation than you're asking.
And then confused would be like it's a different day or.
Right, confused, they don't know person, place, time, or event. Any one of those are missing, they're considered confused. And incomprehensible, can't even comprehend what they're saying. Yes.
So I had a guy who had head injury. Let's see. Could not remember the event, he was able to still work down to face, so we encountered, right? And I believe there was one, I think he was able to. But he was so able to do everything else, so he would be a 14, right?
Correct. As long as he could follow simple commands and his eyes were open.
Right.
So
So
he
except for getting things like, why am I talking to you all?
Classic 14.
Should I be 14?
Yeah.
In flexation and extension,
Uh-huh.
why is it, the extension not do is, it's hard, I mean.
Extension is an even worse sign of brain trauma than flexation. So flexation like this, when they're seizing and they're flexing like that, it's very, very bad. When they're going like this, it's even worse. It's even worse brain trauma. You ever heard what you described? We nicknamed snowboarder syndrome. They don't remember it in 60 seconds after you told them. Yeah, what happened? Where's my board? Did anybody call mom? You say, I'm really sorry, man. Tyrannosaurus Rex stole your board and you ate your mother. Oh my God, that's horrible. What happened? Where's my board? Did anybody call mom? You do that all the way to the hospital.
That's probably different, he dropped all his friends off.
Snowboarders don't.
I actually was playing soccer with parents versus the kids once and slipped on the ice, and smacked my head on the ice and called my wife 9 times in a row and told her to pick the kids up. Then she had to call my boss to have people come get me because obviously I had a head injury.
Are you okay?
Kind of.
I think you need to call your wife.
I was experienced. I had 9 concussions before I was 13 years old. So it wasn't anything new to me. That's the only one I ever had as an adult though. Bye. So, what they've done now, they've changed this, or they're going to change. They're gonna combine physical and anatomical into category red, and mechanism and H chrome over it into yellow. So they got red box trauma and yellow box trauma. The criteria are still the same. So physiology is always gonna come first. And the reason why physiology comes first is people that meet the physiological trauma criteria, if they don't get some type of medical intervention, 9 out of 10 of them statistically will die. The physiology is the most important, so you have to start there. If they don't meet by physiology, then you take a deep breath, you go, whew, that's good. And then you look at anatomical. If they don't meet by anatomical, that's your red box trauma. If they don't meet by those two, it's very, very, very good. And a matter of fact, most trauma centers, you can call in, if it's not red box, they won't even call the trauma team in. They'll do what's called the notification. And they'll notify the trauma team to have them ready, but they'll keep working on other people. Does that make sense? Yes.
So I guess that you're giving patients the same passenger department, so who was still in crash, they would be yellow.
Yes, that's the third one. The mechanism of injury comes third. They're not to the physiological anatomical point. I mean, they're concerned about it, but they're probably not going to die in it. And then the fourth one is H comorbid. We're going to go over each one of these. All right, physiological. Is the respiratory rate above 30 or below 10? If they are, that meets it right there. You don't have to continue. You activate the trauma system. Now you call the day red box. If the respirations are between 10 and 30, that's very good. Check their blood pressure or the radial pulse. Now, the radial pulse, their blood pressure should be at least 90 systolic. If their blood pressure is below 90 systolic, you activate the trauma system. That means they're already probably in decompensated shock. You need surgery as soon as possible. If their blood pressure is above 90 systolic, then we check their Glasgow Coma scale. Anyone that's 13 or less qualifies. If their glass count's above 13, if it's 14 or 15, this is very, very, very good. You can take a deep breath. They do not have a 90% chance of dying from this. Let me know you guys are ready. All right, that brings us to anatomical. So they've got a penetrating trauma proximal to the elbows or the knees. They're rib box trauma. If they have a flared chest, which you haven't learned about yet, so they've got the chest trauma. That is 3 or more consecutive ribs broken to 2 or more consecutive places, which makes your chest go in paroxysmal directions, which means you can't breathe adequately. Remember the whole physics and mechanics of breathing? If half your chest is going the opposite direction, well, that's not gonna work. It's a bad thing, a flared chest. But even right now, traumatic injury burns, that is no longer there. But you have 4 proximal long bones in your body, 2 humeruses and 2 femurs. If half of them are broken, you meet my anatomical. You only need one of these criteria. If they cannot move a limb, traumatic paralysis of any limb, they meet anatomical criteria. Area rib box trauma. If their pelvis is broken, especially if it's open like a book, not physically open, but when you actually see it, it's like, ooh, their pelvis should not be in those directions. Or if they have pelvic pain, unstable pelvic, that means it. Or if they're missing a body part proximal to their wrist or ankle. That's anatomical. They pass all of these. They don't meet my physiology. They don't have those. It's very, very, very good. Probably hurts them. Don't get me wrong, they're hurt. Probably not going to die in the golden hour, at the end of the golden hour. The chances are extremely unlikely that they do not meet physiological or anatomical. They're probably going to survive past the golden hour.
Is that something you want to develop?
Huh?
Is that something?
No, you don't say that. You say, we're going to take good care of you. Any questions on physiological and anatomical? The red box. Reasonably. You can't tell, that's the whole thing. So if unless you know it's superficial, like you can see the derma, you consider it. I will give you an example. We had a medic about 10 years ago. Wife stabbed him in the neck, not the medic, patient. And the guy had taken a thing of paper towels and shoved it in the knife wound, like this. He's like, yeah, this shot me, this shot me. Oh, yeah. So they took him to the hospital. They didn't call a trauma work because they thought it was just superficial. The other ER doctor lets it open, the carotid artery severed, starts going across the ER. Fortunately, there's a vascular surgeon in-house, and he was doing surgery. They screamed, called the phone, get him down here now. So he had to stop doing surgery, run down to the ER, and you repair the carotid. So you don't ever assume that it's not. Yes.
So if that happens and that person left his patient, is he there?
He's still there in the hospital.
Yep. That other patient that just got left, are they like likelihood of dying, like
No.
sky high, or?
If they were about to die, they wouldn't leave.
Okay, but if they could survive a while, then what?
Exactly. Yeah, generally, they very much know what they're doing in the operating room, and if it's not an emergency, they can stop for a little bit, run down and fix an emergency. Any questions? No. All right. Yeah, 99% of the surgeries in hospitals are not emergent, they're scheduled. They do them every 7 days a week. There's a place called outpatient surgery. If you've ever had an outpatient surgery procedure, you know all about it.
Mercy has a big outpatient.
So does Fairchild. They both do. All right, so if they don't meet those two, then we start looking at mechanism of injury. Anyone that's been ejected from a motor vehicle. Now remember, these are people that don't meet physiological or anatomical. If they're ejected from a vehicle and they don't meet physiological or anatomical, they are damn lucky. They should probably still be seen by a surgeon. Yes.
Was that, if they get ejected, and they don't meet those two, are they yellow box or?
Yes. These are people that don't meet any of the things that we've gone before, but they've been ejected from a vehicle. They're a yellow box. If somebody inside that vehicle has died and they've received the same amount of kinematic energy and force as that person, they should really be evaluated by a trauma team. Sense? Now, another big confusion of first responders, I don't know how they confuse this, but somehow a large majority of EMTs do. If the person has been ejected from the vehicle and clashes into a tree and breaks their neck, that is not death of the same passenger compartment. They have been ejected, that doesn't count. They are dead. I have been told no less than 50 times by someone I pull up on saying, oh, there's a dude crashed in that tree, his neck's like wrapped around it 30 times and he's dead, so I called the trauma alert on him because he had his seatbelt on and he doesn't have a complaint. Like, no, that's not what this is. If he was still inside the vehicle and dead, then we have something. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Alright. This is no longer criteria, don't write that down. If there is greater than 12 inches of intrusion to where the person was sitting in a vehicle, or 18 inches of intrusion into any passenger space of the vehicle, that counts for mechanism. The whole crash 20 minutes doesn't mean anything anymore because cars completely come apart the way they're built now, so that's obsolete. Anyone who's hit by a car at greater than 5 miles per hour. Anyone that has been ejected from a motorcycle, scooter, horse, donkey, mule, water ski, anything traveling greater than 20 miles per hour. Needs mechanism injury. Or anyone that falls free fall, not rolling down a hillside, free fall, 20 feet or 3 times their height, you're a short person. That's your mechanism of injury. Those are all yellow lots, so they don't need any of the physiological anatomy.
Sorry, it just reminded me because my friend was in a motorcycle accident. But what trauma team level is the Providence and Medford?
Providence Medford is a level 3.
Level 3.
Rogue Valley is a level 2. It just got its level 2 back about 4 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
Before that, they were both level 3 for a long time.
I see.
Closest level 2 in Oregon, there was one in Springfield and one in Bend, and now Rogue Valley's level 2.
I see.
Yeah, Rogue Valley, they had lost a couple of neurosurgeons and replaced neurosurgeons would not take call. So, or they would not accept the stipend to live in downtown Medford, so they could be there in 20 minutes. So only in the last 4 years, they get some neurosurgeons that were willing to do that and got them back into the too. Any questions? Reddick is in constant danger, this is a level 2 for the same reason. Except not so much neurosurgeons, but their ear, nose, and throat surgeons, and some of the orthopedic surgeons are refusing to, don't have the interest in doing the stipend. Want to look somewhere else, and it's getting that same thing. Doctors are getting harder and harder to find. It takes you 10 years of schooling and about $300,000 in loans to make about $150,000 a year. It's getting harder and harder to find people willing to do that. They can make a lot more money doing something else if they're that smart. Something's got to change. Any questions?
I'm sure it'll change once we're out of doctors.
I'd like to believe you. I'm not seeing it.
Unfortunately, that's not how the world works.
Yeah. And that's another thing, a lot of people don't understand, like they go, oh, we should use the European model. Okay, I'm cool with that. What they don't realize is most European doctors that come to the United States end up being either paramedics or pharmacy technicians. Because they don't want to have to go through the extra schooling, the extra time, and the enormous amount of money it requires to become a physician in the United States. The bar and the criteria here as compared to Europe is way different, which is also why the cost is so astronomically high. Yes.
So the guy that gives a flu shot, I see that he's country from us, call him, that's the Indian. I could ask him.
An immigrant?
Yes.
Okay.
I just asked him like, hey, so instead of getting 2 shots, you could have like chose to cut open someone. Why did you not do that? And he probably said that reason.
Probably.
Well,
If he was a physician where he was from before. Any questions? Now, sometimes physicians in Europe will come here and they'll spend the money and they'll do the couple extra years of residency and they'll become physicians, but not always. I know at least 3 that have become paramedics. Because they're still making more money than they were making in Europe as a paramedic here. And they don't have to go through the extra schooling and the extra costs, so why would you? All right, age comorbid, that's also a special circumstances, the last category, and part of the yellow box. First one doesn't count anymore. Don't worry about that. However, they're all blood thinners. Big deal. That's a concern. Because they can't stop bleeding like people that have regular platelets. They have medications blocking their platelets from flying. So what would not be a trauma alert on someone that's not on blood thinners is for them. If they're a renal failure, if they're a dialysis patient, that's a problem. They cannot process nature's trash can. Their kidneys don't work. If someone's over 20 weeks gestation, halfway through their pregnancy, they've got 50% more plasma than normal. They need to be evaluated by a surgeon. And of course, if they're 100% over the BMI, morbid obesity, also known as bariatric, that's also considered. Questions? COSEMT class, how can I help you? Okay, back. Forgot I was in class. Any questions about trauma criteria? Yellow box. Last 2 are yellow, first 2 are red. Green boxes means they don't meet the criteria. No, there's no green box.
Not trauma.
I made that up.
Green is good. All
Green
right.
is good. No, it's not appropriate to call say I have a St. Patrick's Day patient.
So when you say it's a yellow box or red box, what does that tell the
So
hospital?
generally, if it's a trauma center, if you only call it into a trauma center, if it's a red box trauma, they're probably gonna call it the entire trauma. If it's yellow box trauma, they're probably gonna notify the trauma. Got it. Probably keep them doing what they're doing. Or if they're at home at nighttime, it's a level 2 or a level 3 or a level 4, write a call at home, have them up, make a coffee, and get ready. But waiting until the ER physician says, yeah, we probably better bring the surgeon, then they'll bring. Question?
Oh, yes. Sorry, I forgot. Would you specify when you're submitting the alert in, like yellow alert,
Yes.
and then tell them?
And then tell them the criteria. I actually saw, I'll give you an example. I once had a real bad car accident, pediatric, category red for GCS. And the trauma surgeon actually came on because I was a very young medic. And he didn't believe me. And it was pretty funny because the ER doctor was the medical director. He said, no, this kid's really good. And I guess it's quite a conversation they had back and forth. And finally, the trauma surgeon pushed on the way and says, can you explain to me how you arrived at the Glasgow coma scale? So I had to tell him, eyes are opening to voice. He is confused and he obeys command. So he lost 1 for eyes, 1 for voice, because on Glasgow 13, he meets the criteria. It says, we'll activate the team. So that was in 1995 or 4. That's how long ago that was. But no one's ever considered me young in the last 4 years. Any other questions? All right, let's see what you guys have learned. You've been dispatched to a traffic collision. What do we do first? Scene size up. All right, your BSI is on. CHP has the traffic scene secured. This is a minivan that rear-ended a parked 18-wheeler flatbed. There is only one patient. You have your partner, a rescue squad, and an engine company. You got lots of resources there. They're gonna consider spinalization where someone just drove their van into a parked truck at freeway speed? Probably. Ooh, what comes next? Cheaters. You guys psyched me into doing that. I saw that. Primary assessment, ABCs. All right, he appears to be an unresponsive elderly man sitting in the driver's seat of his minivan. He does not respond to verbal or painful stimuli. You have determined that he is unresponsive. What category of trauma is he right now?
Red.
Right, because his Glasgow's under 13. So his area has bloody secretions and he's only breathing 4 breaths a minute, so he's definitely red. So you begin ventilating him with a bag valve mask immediately and suction his airway. He does not have a radial pulse. So this guy meets all 3 of the criteria of physiology. This is really, really bad. He's pale, cold, and wet. So he's in decompensated shock. He's in bad shape. So you activate the trauma system. What do we do next? Transport. What's next on the assessment flow chart?
Secondary.
No.
Oh.
History.
Oh, yeah, that's right. But
Nobody knows what
history
these
is
under.
Yeah.
Now what's next?
Secondary.
There you go. All right. Blood pressure 94/40, so he does have blood size. Not a hard rule on the radial pulse. Pulse rate's 132, his respiration 4, assist at 12. His eyes don't open, he says, "Bruh, bruh," and he withdraws from pain. What's his Glasgow Coma scale? Wow, who just did that? How did you get that?
So 1 for the eyes, 4 for the incomprehensive, right?
No.
That's the verbal, blah, blah.
Right, that's not 4. That's
No, sorry, 2 for, yeah.
okay.
And then the 3 for, unresponsive. He's unresponsive, right?
Right.
No, like 1.
1, and then
So
2.
1,
1 plus
3.
2 is 3. And then motor,
I
how
don't know
many?
how I did it, I just.
Chris,
I just went like this.
you're like the expert from last year. No?
I also have it in front of me. 4 withdrawals.
Yes. 1, 2, 4, 7. But very good.
That was the only one you missed, is the motor response.
If you're taking a wild guess, you had a 1 in 15 chance, or if you know that 3 is the lowest, it was 1 in 12 chance. Yes. What? Personal movement is they're not following commands, but they're reaching and moving things with their arms. So you squeeze my hands, they don't do it, then they go. All right, so his Glasgow's 7? Yeah. Head, he's got a big open wound laceration where his head hit the flat bed of the truck, very bad. Next negative, he's got corrupt his left side of his chest, he goes. That's bad. But his lung cells are clear and equal bilaterally. His abdomen's firm and distended all quadrant, so which means he's bleeding inside there. Pelvis is stable, that's good. But his left forearm's like, and the rest of his turns are negative. So you get him out, but check this out. Look at the second set of vital signs.
Oh.
Yeah, you know why? Because you started ventilating immediately. He's getting oxygen back in his brain. He's starting to breathe on his own again. Any questions? So you put an advanced airway in him and get him to the trauma center as soon as possible. This guy actually walked out of the hospital.
Really?
Yeah.
Same day.
What kind of minivan? was
No, we're not the same day.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was a minivan. I'll look
That's
away.
a really good surgeon.
Well, I mean, have you not been seeing the new minivan soccer automobiles that they're making nowadays?
I don't know. All I know is the worst car accidents I've ever been on consistently in my career are minivans. Those things come apart like a Humpty Dumpty toy. There is nothing worse than a minivan rollover or crash. They just come apart. It's just that, and I don't know if there's anyone that's any better than another one. I have no idea. I would never own one, so I don't really pay that close attention.
You took one down to LA and had vacuums in it.
It's great.
Had little sweepers.
Depending on the SUV. Yeah. There's actually a video out there. I should have put it inside the presidential class. Not all SUVs are the same. There are some SUVs that do horrible in crash test ratings. There are other SUVs that are spectacular and not ones that you would think of. Front end head-on collision, which I would have never guessed this. But guess what in the top 3 is? Jeep Wrangler.
Oh, yeah. Jeep.
Yeah, but I've seen some pretty bad Jeep wrecks before. And believe me, I'm a big Jeep fan. If you've ever seen my Jeep, you understand.
Show me a
But,
picture.
Huh?
I wanna see a picture.
I don't drive my Jeep here because I can't afford to from Manchester to Wheat.
No, I feel you.
I drive my wife's RAV4 up here.
You had the big black Jeep, right?
How did you know that? Now I'm kind of nervous. Making me nervous more.
That was like all blacked out.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I know what that was.
Yeah, you can't miss it when it parks in the parking lot. It was 38-inch tires. All right.
Did you say 36?
38.
Oh, sorry.
That's why you can't afford gas.
Yeah,
I was gonna say.
Turning those tires. I get about 7 miles to the gallon.
Should've just went for 40s.
Huh?
Should've just went for 40s.
I might upgrade.
How wide?
How wide? 20 inches.
They're moving tire.
Yeah, they throw a rooster tail to snow and water like nothing you've ever seen. Yeah,
How much you spend with gas?
a lot. Well, actually, I only drive it off-road and to work and back. My commute is 3 blocks. I get about 7 miles. Yeah, it's a bad subject, for my wife, trust me. She has to commute 45 minutes each way.
Oh. Oh, and wait, does she take the Jeep?
No, she's got a RAV4 hybrid.
Okay. Well, I thought because you were taking that, so I was wondering.
No, I drive the Jeep to work because it's like, I can spend even 3 minutes. It's probably 30 seconds. I can be at my house in like less than 30 seconds.
Right here.
Taking that short.
3 blocks, yeah, literally 3 blocks. So I can afford to drive my Jeep to work every day. Then I come home and I thought, God, honey, the commute was terrible. Don't ever tell her to don't watch this YouTube. Sorry. All right, any questions on treatment for traumatic injuries?
I bet she still pays less on gas than you do.
A lot
I
less.
commute.
No, I pay less on gas than she does. She drives 80 miles round trip every day. So even in a hybrid, she pays some more on gas. All right. We don't have time for this. Go to break, be back in 5 minutes after 8, ready to do skills. Hopefully we get some proctors. End this before I say something else stupid.